Hello, thank you for joining us. My name is Lynn. I'm a customer service representative here at Warmly Yours, and I am joined by Greg.
Hello, how are you guys all?
And today we're going to be talking about pairing radiant floor heating with laminate flooring.
So, the reason we do these is to really address any questions out there. So, don't ever hesitate to ask a question if you think of it. I guarantee you, if you're thinking about it, somebody else has the same question and is waiting for somebody else to ask it. So, don't hesitate to jump in and ask. There's two ways you can ask. You can hit this ask a question button, or over here in this little white part here where it says say something nice, you can use that to ask a question too. Either way is fine. Don't hesitate to ask a question anytime.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we love answering questions, so feel free
Mhm.
to just shoot whenever you have one. Starting out today, we're going to be talking about our Environ floor heating, which is one of our floor heating systems that's really designed to go under laminate flooring. We're also going to be going over a project example so you can see exactly, what goes into installing floor heating into a space. And we're going to be going over that installation process as well. And then at the end, we're also going to talk about the project cost for the project we went over and kind of what you can expect to be looking at with cost for something like this.
So why heat laminate flooring? So it offers more than just warm toes. Anytime you're adding radiant floor heating under any flooring surface, you're essentially turning your flooring into a radiator. That's going to warm the whole room, and it actually puts the heat where you need it, at the level of the in the room where you need it, versus forced air. Once the blower stops moving around the air, the heat rises and it's not where you need it. So in terms of comfort, it's radiant heating is definitely the way to go. It's also one of the fastest ways to install flooring and floor heating. This is a project where if you're a novice and if you've maybe installed laminate flooring once, or maybe you've never installed it, but are handy enough that you feel confident that you want to give it a shot, adding floor heating to it is ridiculously simple. It's super, super easy. So, this isn't something where the technical difficulty should be a barrier for you at all. So, if you're thinking about it, I would highly encourage it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're looking at doing a project with a laminate or some kind of floating floors, you're really going to be wanting to use our Environ product. It's a heating system that's really designed specifically to go under a floating floor. So this is really the fastest type of floor heating system to install that's on the market. Like Greg said, it's pretty simple if you're relatively handy. It's not an incredibly complicated process, and then you're going to be getting that radiating heat for a long time to come. With the Environ, you're going to have a roll design. We call it like a flex roll, basically meaning that you can really design this to go into any shaped room. It doesn't need to be a perfect square or rectangle. If you have, whether you have a perfect square room or you have a room that is, kind of has lots of cuts and corners and turns, you'll be able to really make this fit into that space to give you the coverage that you're looking for. So with these flex rolls, we'll be going over a little bit more in detail on how to work those into the space, but essentially they're basically long rolls that are able to be cut and turned to fit into any space. And then we also have easy mats, which are essentially the same product, just in a shorter roll. So it really doesn't need, you can cut and turn it if you need to, but really they're designed to just be put into areas where where you want to have just a little bit of heating, or where if you don't want to put floor heating in the entire room, but you want it, in front of one specific spot. Often we see it like in bathrooms in front of a sink or a vanity. That's going to be a really great option for you there.
So the installation is the layers for the installation. If we take a look at this cross section here, you're kind of looking from above down at a floor, and then you've got your wood subfloor. So this could be a concrete subfloor as well, as long as whatever laminate you pick is compatible with a that type of installation, or if it's a basement, if it's compatible with a below grade installation. So this could be a wood subfloor or a cement subfloor, and then a cork underlayment. And we're going to talk about that in terms of the installation, why it's important a little later on. But just to give you an idea, one, it gives you it does help insulate and push the heat up into the room. Two, it helps protect the environ as well, and also gives you a place to put the cold lead. And then finally, not finally, but then right on top of the cork, we're going to put the Environ flex roll. So that's laid down right on top of that. And then on top of that, the laminate flooring.
Awesome. So when you're looking for your radiant, or when you're looking for flooring to go over your radiant heating, you're going to want to find a laminate with no or very minimal backing. A lot of them have some kind of backing, often it's like a foam or a cork. So you want to make sure that if it does have a backing, it's very minimal, and that the assembled plank has an R value of less than 1, so that you're not going to be trapping that heat. We also recommend checking the warranty of your flooring, just kind of talking maybe with the flooring manufacturer and really seeing, is their product compatible with radiant floor heating, or would that void their warranty, or do they have any, potential issues or problems with that. When you're talking with the floor manufacturer, you're also going to want to find out what is the maximum temperature that the radiant heating can go with their specific product. And then we'll get into that a little bit later on, but you'll be able to really set a very exact custom maximum temperature on your thermostat, so that you never have to worry about that heat damaging the floor.
And a good way to check that, in terms of the warranty and also installation recommendations, is to find the installation PDF either straight from a carton of the flooring you're considering installing, or online, because that installation PDF is likely to have all the warranty kind of requirements in terms of the maximum temperature and that sort of thing. It's also going to have installation requirements and suggestions for radiant heating. And when it comes down to it, that's going to be, what the manufacturer would look at if there was a warranty claim, is the installation manual. So that's a super easy, extraordinarily reliable way to understand if your flooring is compatible with floor heating. So temperature limit for laminates, it's going to vary depending on the laminate. The thermostats that we offer have a pre-programmed 82 degrees max, because nearly everything on the market is at that or slightly higher than that as far as the max limit for radiant heat. But let's say it's significantly higher, or it's lower, you can also set a custom max temperature range as well. So and if you think about it, 82 degrees, you're putting a heater in your room that's set at 82 degrees if you were going to do that. That's nice when it's warming up. It's nice when, the room is cold and the system's just turned on. Once the system's been turned on a while, if it's on for long enough, that radiating heat will start to heat other objects in the room. Those objects begin to radiate, and then the overall room temperature will eventually reach close to the temperature that you have set. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I ever set my thermostat to 82 degrees. That would be too warm for me. So the temperature limit isn't a reason not to do laminate flooring at all. It's just something to keep in mind to make sure that you're not overheating the laminate.
Yeah, that's a great point. So we want to show you a project example. This one took place in Jefferson, New Jersey, and they did a laminate flooring over a wood subfloor in a second floor bedroom.
So here's the smart plan for this. Now, how you get a smart plan is, it's pretty simple. What you're going to do is you're going to send us a sketch of the room that you want to heat, along with dimensions. It does not have to be an architectural drawing. We literally get these from the field on the back of napkins. I had one not too long ago written on a pizza box that they took a picture of. The quality of the drawing isn't important. What all is important is having, the general shape and accurate dimensions, because we're going to take the information you send us, put it into a computer aided design program that's then going to come up with a nice, pretty drawing like this. It's going to show you what material you need, electrical specifications, and exactly how to lay it out. So it might be a little work to get that plan to us up front and take you a little bit of time to do that. But the day of, you're not going to have to figure out what you need to do to fit the roll into the room. We will have already done that for you, which will save you a lot of time, even considering the time you took to send it in. So when we look at the plan here, right here is the start where you see this triangle with the two lines. And the way it's designed, this one roll right here, number one, is this roll down here, which is a 30-foot long roll. And so it comes in one continuous roll that's 30 feet long. And it's designed so you can cut the backing that holds the wire spacing into place and help spread the heat without cutting the cable. There's a little picture of that right here. So you start here, cut and turn back and forth all the way till you get to the end here. And then the other roll starts right here and goes back and cuts and turns and all the way ends up here. And it's designed so that the leads from the mat here, and what do I mean by leads? It's the cable that carries the power that doesn't heat up. We know it'll reach from here to the thermostat and from here to the thermostat. So when you send in that plan, show us where you'd like the thermostat, and we'll build the design around around your thermostat placement.
Awesome. Yeah, so this is a really nice kind of concise project overview. So again, the heating system that was used is that Environ Flex Roll, actually two of them. It covered the total area of the room was 188 square feet, and they had that Flex Roll covering 105 square feet of that. So that's a really nice, amount of coverage. You're still going to have the room, completely warmed. It's going to be a nice, comfortable temperature. You'll have coverage where you want it, but you don't need to cover the entirety of the room in most cases. For this project, the wattage was about 1200 watts, 11 amps, and they used a 15 amp, 120 volt non GFCI breaker. That non GFCI is important down the road. And then the operating cost for this room is 4 cents an hour. And then at 8 hours, so if you heated it for, probably what you'd be using like all day, about 32 cents to heat it for that amount of time. That calculation is based off of about 8 cents a kilowatt hour. That's, roughly average, obviously, depending on where you live. That could vary greatly. But so at 8 kilowatts an hour, you are looking at 32 cents for the whole day.
Yeah, and if you let us know your kilowatt hour usage before we do the quote, we can then send your precise energy usage per hour so you can, have an accurate number for your location and energy costs. And we also have online a cost calculator that you can find under the tools section on our website. All right, and let's talk about testing your system. Now, if you haven't done this before, it can sound daunting, but this is actually a really, really simple thing. There are two devices you use to test the system. When you get the product, the first thing you're going to want to do, right out of the box, is test it with a digital ohms meter. And the meter you use is important. There are several different kinds of multimeters on the market, from analog to self-ranging to the very inexpensive digital multimeter. That's what you want. You want the inexpensive one. I've been on the way to a job site one time and I found one at a hardware store I stopped in. It was $6. Literally, I mean, they can be very, very inexpensive. They're usually around $20 or so. And we can walk you through the testing. We send you installations. Basically, it's taking these probes, putting them to the cold lead, and looking for the numbers that we have listed for you. So you do that right out of the box. You do that after you've laid down the floor and then before hooking up your thermostat. And then the other thing you do for installation as you're installing is you use this circuit check. What the circuit check does is it's got some batteries in it and it's sending it down, sending low voltage through the system as you're working. If it sees that that voltage is interrupted, meaning you've cut the wire, it alarms and lets you know, hey, stop working. And then you can give us a call and we'll walk you through the repair process of getting it fixed. It's not, you know, accidentally cutting a cable doesn't mean you've ruined a roll and it's the end of the job and you're done. It just means a little bit of a time delay and to get it spliced, which doesn't even really take that long at all. So the circuit check's also not only for during the installation. If it's a job site where perhaps you're going to be putting down the floor warming, and maybe later on down the road you are going to be installing, or maybe you need to give more time for your flooring to acclimate for the room, because most laminates you have to buy ahead of time and let it sit in your house for a while and get to the same humidity and temperature as the rest of the house before installing. So if you're going to have that delay, if you leave the circuit check on and something happens to it, you'll know because it'll alarm. You know, if another trade comes in and maybe, you know, is installing a sink or doing something where they're drilling through the floor and they end up cutting a wire, you'll understand what's happening and once again be able to address the issue and move on with the installation.
Yeah, absolutely. Better to have that than a nasty surprise once the floor is down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we're going to actually move on to showing you our installation process for these Environ flex rolls.
Okay. So you want to clear the subfloor of debris and dust so that the cork underlayment can lay against a flat surface. Um, Subfloor preparation is really important for any type of flooring install, whether or not you're installing radiant heating. So any instructions that the flooring company requires for subfloor preparation, you should follow. So if it needs a certain thickness of subfloor or it needs a certain levelness of subfloor, um, any of those kinds of things, make sure you've met those specifications. It really doesn't have anything to do with floor heating, but it is important for a successful flooring installation.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you'll want to start with your cork. So first you'll want to dry fit it. Just make sure that the entire floor is covered, that you know exactly how you're going to be laying it out. This will also float on the subfloor, so you don't need to really worry about, kind of putting down some kind of thin set or something. You're going to just let it float. And then you also want to make sure that you're doing this in we like to say, like a brick-like pattern, essentially, that you're not going to have all the seams lined up. You want to stagger them so that you're not going to end up having any kind of shifting over time. It'll give it some extra support. And then you'll also want to secure those pieces together, again, in the seams using tape. You can use either masking tape, duct tape. Duct tape's usually the best.
Yep, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and it's once again, this emphasizes the easiness of this application because you're not even gluing these down. You're essentially laying down pieces on the floor. It really couldn't be simpler. And then this is what we talked about a little earlier. So this is this point right here, this whole section right here, and this black part. This black part carries the power and going into the splice here. And at one point, it moves from being just carrying the power to actually powering where it powers the heating elements. And so that the floor doesn't, rock back and forth on this cable, you simply cut out a little bit of the cork, and so the thickness of the cable and it drops right in there. It's a simple process.
So then you're going to start with the actual Environ. So again, follow that SMART plan. Be sure to look it over before starting just so that you're familiar with it and familiar with the layout of the rolls. And then you'll start following that, piece by piece. So you'll start with the first roll. Be sure to start where the start sign is, the triangle that is indicated on that plan that we showed you earlier. And then you'll cut and turn it according to those arrows and finish where the square is marked on that plan. And then again, same thing as the cork. If you need to secure it to the cork, then you can just use duct tape or masking tape to hold it into place.
So when you're cutting and turning and lining up the Environ on the floor, one thing you want to do is you may need to shift it a little bit back and forth, because what you don't want is you've got these heating elements here. So you can see these loops here. Hopefully you can see that well enough on the picture. That's actually where the wire is. That's where the heat is. And they're spaced this way because about 1.5 inches going this way and 1.5 inches going this way is where the heat is the strongest. So you'll know you'll have nice, even heating throughout. Well, you want to maintain on the curved part of the loop here, you want to maintain that distance here. So between here and here and here and here, you want to try to kind of have it the same way it is even here. So talking about it is actually probably more complicated than doing it in real life, because it's just a matter of shifting one panel a little bit. So it's not a big deal at all.
Yep, and then you'll want to start with putting down your floor sensor, which is very simple. The sensor comes in the thermostat box. It is complementary with that thermostat. So be sure that when you take the thermostat out of the box that you are looking for that sensor. A lot of people accidentally throw away the box with the sensor in it. So make sure that you grab that sensor for this part. You will begin installing it at least 6 to 8 inches into an open loop. Basically, again, same thing. You don't want the sensor crossing over any of those loops. So wherever that loop is, you want to avoid that, run it into an open loop. Same thing, it feels a lot more complicated to say it than to actually just do it.
Right.
But then you're going to, again, make sure it's not touching that heating wire at any point, and that the sensor wire is not run in the same conduit as the cold leads for the mat. So make sure that you have a separate conduit for that sensor wire. We do also have backup sensors. It doesn't hurt to have one. It's about, I think we said like a 1 in 10,000 chance the original
Yeah.
sensor should fail. It's incredibly rare. But if you feel better having a backup sensor in the floor, it's like $10 to $15 for an extra. It doesn't hurt to have that peace of mind. And then you'll install it the same way and you'll run it back to the thermostat. You just won't have it connected to the thermostat. So if the original sensor ever should fail, that way you can just go in, reconnect the backup to or I guess just connect the backup to the thermostat and you're good to go. And then you also want to consider with that sensor, the location of it. It really doesn't need to be in the middle of the floor. A lot of people think it needs to be, right in the center. It can be along the edge. That's perfectly fine as long as it is 6 to 8 inches into the open loop. The main thing to consider is that you don't want it under something that will trap the heat, like an area rug or a bath mat. And you also don't want it somewhere where there's going to be direct sunlight on it throughout the day, which would probably give you, it's going to be a lot warmer in that specific spot. So just a couple things to consider when placing your floor sensor.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's not complicated at all. So actually, then you install the laminate flooring. There's really no difference on what you would do here than when you're normally installing, besides maybe being a little more careful with the tools. So you're making sure you're not, because a lot of times maybe you have to kind of pound it into place from the side, so that with some floorings, if it's depending on the type, others just click in pretty simply. But it's no different from, in many ways, from installing laminate flooring when you don't have radiant heating involved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty simple.
Hmm.
And then you'll start with your wiring. Obviously, make sure that you're following any local electrical and building codes. So you want to check with your local code authority to make sure that you are following all of those, that you're going to have a very nice, safe install. A lot of local codes will require that this be done by a licensed electrician. Generally, we recommend that as well, unless you are an electrician yourself or very, very comfortable with it. It doesn't hurt to have someone come in and do all that wiring, again, very safely, making sure that everything is done properly. It's also important to remember cold leads can be run to a junction box with a secondary connection to the thermostat if you need to. So make sure that your electrician is aware of that when working on the wiring and running all of those conduits.
Yeah, I mean that's usually only necessary in very, very large applications. So, most bedrooms, dens, things like that, smaller rooms, you're not going to need a junction box. It's going to be just like the picture shown here, where you've got a single one for the thermostat. And, even if you have two mats, both leads will easily fit through the conduit. It's only when you have a big area with many mats and many leads that you would need to do something like that. So here are our floor heating thermostats. We've got everything from our Inspire Touch Wi-Fi thermostat. So this is touch screen. So it's super easy to control just using the screen, standing to it. It's kind of more like operating an app than actually programming via buttons. And with the Wi-Fi one, you can actually do it with an app as well and control it from another location. Now, then the Inspire Touch, the non Wi Fi version, has everything this version has, just no Wi Fi app. So it's still a touch screen, still super easy to program, very, very easy. You know, simple. Probably this is, I think, still our best selling thermostat. Then we've got the enhanced thermostat, which is fully programmable, but a little more challenging to program. It's got a menu system, and you have to use these buttons to program it. There's no touch screen, no app. And then finally, for locations where you want the system either on or off, we've got the Entrust, which is a non-programmable thermostat. That's basically it's on and it's temperature up, temperature down, or off. That's it. Very, very easy to use.
So when you're looking at putting down an Environ system, a lot of people are often concerned about what the cost would look like. So for a system like this, the one that we showed you with the two rolls, the thermostat, and the circuit check and cork, the total MSRP was about $1,767 for that whole space. So that really is a nice, it's not especially cost prohibitive if you're just putting it into, a regular sized bedroom or room or something like that.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if you were going to install any kind of a heating system in any room, any kind of a permanently installed system that's, controlled by a thermostat, that's actually a pretty low number. If you think about it just as warm toes, it might not look as appealing cost wise, but when you really realize, hey, this is a heating system I'm putting into a room, and if you've got a room over a garage, an unheated garage, or in a basement that's always cold and you're not comfortable, getting a heating system in there can make a big difference in their comfort in that room.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any questions so far on anything that we've gone over or anything that you want to chat about? I know that we had received some customer questions previously, right, Greg?
Yeah, we did. Do you have those handy, Lynn?
I do. Looks like Mary has asked a question in the sidebar chat.
Okay. Um, I have a pre-attached underlayment on my laminate flooring. Can I use it with an Environ? The question is, you may be able to. There's a good chance you should be able to. The question is you're looking for like the complete flooring, that entire piece of laminate should have an R value less than one. There are instances where you could perhaps even go above that. The key would be to make absolutely sure that the R value below the flooring is is greater than that above the flooring. And if you have a situation like that, give us a call and we'll talk you through it. But it is absolutely best to keep that R value less than one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, so previous questions that have been sent in earlier. Number one is which floor materials, for example, wood, tile, etc., transfer heat more efficiently?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So the most of the it has a lot to do with the density of the floor. So the denser the floor, the faster it's going to transfer heat and the longer it's going to retain the heat once it's warmed up. So absolutely tile and stone just marry perfectly with radiant floor heating. But any type of flooring, whether that's, a laminate or a vinyl floor or even carpets, wall to wall carpets will warm up to the same temperature as stone or tile. So you can use any of those with it. It just may not, they may not warm up, other than stone and tile may take a little bit longer to warm up and cool down a little bit more quickly. But tile and stone are definitely the best paired with radiant heating.
Yeah, awesome. Um, John asks, I did a radiant under laminate several years ago and had disastrous results due to laminate shrinking. What did I do wrong?
Okay, so the with any kind of a wood-based product, you need to acclimate it in the room for a certain amount of time before installing it. That's a mistake that people make all the time. They buy the flooring, they bring it home, they're anxious to put it down, they put it down, and then if the flooring is holding more humidity than the atmosphere in your house, it'll shrink and you'll have gaps. If it's holding too much, you may actually get buckling where the floor expands and it pushes it up. So, number one, absolutely acclimate the floor. The second is maintaining the proper humidity range required for the floor in your home. That's true. Both of these are very true with or without floor heating. So it was most likely that it's either that the floor wasn't acclimated properly, or that the humidity conditions in the home weren't where they needed to be for the flooring, because the heat and humidity are two separate things and affect the floor differently, and humidity tends to be the bigger problem of the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the last question that we had received previously is from Glenn asking, I'm curious how this lays out on the floor in larger rooms, such as kitchen, if I could talk, that'd be great, such as kitchens, sunrooms, living rooms, and dens. Also, what formula do you have for operational costs based on regional electric rates? Can it be used only as a comfort for the floor and then rely on the main heating cooling system?
Okay. So lots going on there. Let's unpack that. What was the first part of that?
How does this lay out in on the floor in larger rooms?
Okay, so in larger rooms, that's one thing where the smart plan covers two of these questions actually. Um, in a large room, we can show you precisely how to lay it out. If it's a large enough room where you're going to require junction boxes, or there's a device called, let's say you want to do a very large area, but with a single thermostat. A thermostat can hold 15 amps, so you can cover, a certain amount of space in the room on a single thermostat. Sometimes you have to add additional circuits and power modules. Now, when you do that, you're going to have different locations on where those modules go. So if you let us know where it's convenient to pull power to different locations in the room, we'll create the design around your needs. So there really is, it's just another, one additional consideration in terms of where you're placing the power in the room. Besides that, it's the same thing we showed you before with the layout with the cut and turns. That'll show you the how to do that. And then the second part of that question was energy use, wasn't it?
Yes. What formula do you have for operational costs based on regional electric rate?
So we've got a couple ways of getting that done. One, if you let us know your rate when you send in your drawing for the smart plan, we're going to show you on the quote exactly what the hourly costs would be for you. Another way is a very simple way is going to our website under the tools section. There's an operating cost calculator, and you can put in your energy costs, your square footage, and how much you're going to use it a day, and it'll calculate that for you. And then what was the last part of that question?
Can it be used only as a comfort for the floor and then rely on the main heating cooling system?
So it can be it. The question is, can it be used, I guess, as a primary heat source? So let's say you have a kitchen and it has baseboard heating, and you want to remove the baseboard heating, put cabinets where the baseboard heating is, and redo the flooring and add floor heating instead. Will that floor heating heat that kitchen, right? In a situation like that, it all comes down to heat loss. So picture this. Picture you've got two houses with the same heating system. One's a 1920s farmhouse with newspaper insulation and single pane windows, and the other's a modernly built home with energy efficient windows, heavy insulation in the walls and the ceilings. That 1920s house is probably going to be cold and drafty, probably almost no matter what system you put in the room. So, same principle here. If you put one of our heating systems into a room, it all depends on the heat loss for that room. And we can help you calculate that and figure that out. We've got a form you can fill out online. And we've also got a kind of a web tool that you can go through the steps and answer the questions and find out, will your room be suitable to use radiant heating as a primary heat source. So it's not something you need to guess at all. We can give you a very precise answer based on your desired temperature for comfort. Can it be used as a primary heat source or can it not be used as a primary heat source? We can work with you and do a heat loss calculation and let you know for sure.
Yeah, better not to guess, better to
Yeah,
make sure with math.
absolutely. We do it all the time. So, don't hesitate to reach out to us if that's something that you're interested in.
Sure, absolutely. And then we actually have a couple more questions. Annie wants to know, I live in LA with frequent earthquake shakings. How does it impact the heating mechanism?
Oh, that's interesting. So, um, I've been with Warmly Yours going on 16 years now, and I'm director of sales is my position with the company. So, any warranty claim that comes through, generally comes across my desk, and I can say I've never had a warranty claim for earthquakes. So that's a good thing. Now, seriously though, any earthquake that would be serious enough to damage the flooring could damage the floor heating. With a floating installation like this, I would say it would have to be a really major problem to really cause you a problem because nothing's glued down. So if there's movement, everything will move. When the movement stops, it's fine. So generally, I think with those types of systems, you wouldn't have an issue. Now, if you had a tile or a marble floor and you had an earthquake and you get a major crack across the floor, and that crack is severe enough to damage a wire, then you could have problems. But I
Yeah.
would think that if it was that much damage to your house, you would have much larger problems to contend with than the floor heating. And most likely, if you're getting those kinds of cracks in the floor because of an earthquake, you're going to replace that floor. And at that point, you need to replace the floor heating as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the floating actually may be a better option out somewhere with earthquake, something to consider. Absolutely.
Yeah, yep.
All right,
Um,
and then we have two more. We have one from Tristan asking, how would you recommend controlling the humidity in a house to preserve the flooring?
so there's really a couple ways to do that. The best way is whole house humidification. A lot of times when you're in a forced air situation, you can install a whole house humidifier and set the humidity level that you need it to. The other way to do it is room by room. There are inexpensive devices, humidity devices that you can buy to read the humidity. And then it's a matter of balancing using humidifiers, dehumidifiers, and air conditioning to keep the humidity levels where you need it. But the whole house is definitely the simpler solution of the two. It's the best long-term solution.
And it's not especially cost prohibitive. I know I personally have looked into them this winter, and they're actually definitely worth the money, in my opinion,
Yeah,
especially
especially
with a flooring like that.
yeah, especially with like natural wood flooring. I don't think I would buy, I don't think I would install wood flooring throughout a house without a whole house humidifier. Or if I moved into a house that had, unless it was a 100-year-old home that never had issues, I would probably, that would be one of the first things I would do because it's a lot less expensive to get a whole house humidifier than to replace wood flooring.
That's currently my problem, so we are working on fixing that.
Yep. Yeah.
Another question is, does the electrical need to be a 15 or 20 amp circuit, and should it be a dedicated circuit?
Almost always a dedicated non-GFCI circuit, and the circuit size depends on the amount of floor heating. Once again, that's something we've got a tool online that's it basically what it allows you to do is to get an instant quote for floor heating that'll show you, you put in the square footage, it'll show you what and the type of flooring, it'll show you what systems recommended and all the electrical specifications as well. And then anytime you get a quote from us, we're going to let you know specifically what you need in terms of the electrical specification for that. You know, a smaller room, 15 amps should be fine for a small bathroom. If you get into larger rooms, you're going to be looking at larger breakers.
Yep. Oh, awesome. And then Darren has asked, can these systems be used with luxury vinyl floors that are on the market today?
So luxury vinyl flooring is a really big and really diverse category. And what it comes down to is you need to look individually at the exact flooring type to understand whether or not it can be used. And if so, what the recommendations are. There, vinyl flooring is very much sold as super easy to install. But if you dig deeper, and I've read hundreds, and literally, no hyperbole here, I've read hundreds of installation manuals for vinyl flooring, and the installation methods are all across the board. One thing that most of them have is a flatness requirement. So a lot of times what you have to do is to buy a floor heating system that's compatible with self-leveling and level over the system before installing the vinyl, which can be it's much more challenging than installing a laminate without leveling. So I would that's you know a flooring where you absolutely have to really look at that installation PDF and understand what their requirements are in terms of installation and radiant heating, because I've seen ones that are as restrictive as no heat allowed at all to as unrestrictive saying follow the heating manufacturer's recommendations. So it's across the board. And not only that, I've seen it where I've read the installation manual for a product, and then a customer maybe months down the road asks about the same product, and I know I've read it before and I knew it was okay, but I always double check. When I double check, the installation instructions have changed. So definitely make sure that you're looking at that for the flooring you're going to buy, and that you're getting the installation instructions that are coming with the flooring that you're going to buy. That's something that we can help you out with too. My name's Greg. I'm the only Greg that works for the company. I've been here for 16 years. My email's super easy to remember. It's greg@warmlyyours.com. Don't hesitate to call me or shoot me an email if you're thinking about using a flooring type and you're not sure if it's a good partner with radiant heating. I can do that research for you. I do it all the time. It's really, really quick. So don't hesitate to send that to me.
Yeah, absolutely. That is all the questions I see, unless there's any others that are going to come in. Don't
Excellent.
see any.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we got a few more slides to kind of sum up, and we'll look for any questions coming in. Um, and I see one right now.
Yep, just came in.
Would you have a webinar for concrete floor in the near future? I'm not sure what the schedule is, but if we don't, we should.
That is a really good topic.
That's a really good topic. And I see Annie, you're asking that question. And Olivia chimed in, who's in charge of putting these together, and said we can work on one for sure. So we're going to put one together for you, Annie. And in the meantime, if you have questions, Annie, once again, my name's Greg. I'll be back at my desk in about an hour or so. Don't hesitate to give me a call or shoot me an email. I can talk to you about it, in detail. I actually grew up with a family that built homes, and we had a masonry concrete company for a while. So I know a lot about concrete and concrete flooring. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you're interested in learning more about that. All right. Okay, you're welcome, Annie. All right, so join us for our next webinar. Our next one is snow melt systems for stairs and walkways. I got to tell you, we brought on this product many years ago. Every year it grows in sales. It's our fastest growing product category. And if you think about it, Who likes shoveling snow? Lynn, do you like shoveling snow? I'm guessing you don't, right?
I work from home, so now I just don't. I just let it sit because I don't want to do it.
I actually like it, but even though I like the exercise and getting out there in the snow, no matter how much I shovel, I never like putting down salt because it damages walks and stairs. It's not good for your lawn, and a lot of the salts out there can hurt pets. So there's a lot of reasons to do snow melt. So that's coming up. Don't miss that.
And then we also do daily trainings here on Crowdcast. We have one at 4 p.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and then at 11 a.m. on Thursday and Fridays. I host, I'd say, the majority of those at this point. So if you want to pop in, they last usually anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how many people are there, any questions. And we just go over different topics each day. And if you ever have questions that aren't even on that topic, you're always free to just hop in, ask questions, and I'm happy to chat with you.
Excellent. So, to complement this, we've got a monthly promotion going on. So, if you're considering doing a laminate flooring, or actually this pairs well with engineered hardwoods extremely well, give us a call. 20% off Environ Easy Mats. That's a great deal. Don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Absolutely. And also, Doug asked what time zone for the training. That's Central Time.
Yep. Yep. And we value your feedback. And this is, we mean this with all sincerity. We are a company that prides ourselves on continuous improvement. No matter how well we're doing something, we're always looking to do it better. And we appreciate the perspective of people that are directly not involved in the industry, especially on ways that we can do things better. So if there was something about this webinar, maybe I spoke too quickly, I tend to really chat around really fast, or
Me too.
anything that you could recommend for us to do differently, please don't hesitate to let us know.
We also take compliments. If you think we are awesome, please let us know. I thrive on compliments.
Yep. Flattery will get you everywhere.
And like we said, we're always here if you have any questions, concerns, you want to quote, whatever we can do to help out. Please don't hesitate to reach out. You can always give us a call or you can text us. You can also email us. You can either reach out to our general information email. It's info@warmlyyours.com. Or if you want to reach out to Julia, she's our owner, our president, our founder. She is fantastic and she loves talking one-on-one with our customers. So if you ever have, suggestions, comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out to Julia at jbillen@warmlyyours.com. And of course, 24/7, we are online at warmlyyours.com or on Facebook as Warmly Yours. Feel free to check out those pages. Our website is a treasure trove of information. Every product that we sell has a full web page of information, specs, details, and then just lots of tools like we went over today, as well as a ton of different cool things like videos and blog posts. So please check us out there.
And until next time, stay warm and be radiant. And thank you very much for participating. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.